Hello everyone and welcome to Merlin's Manor. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 1 to 5 player game Wingspan, which is produced by Stonemaier Games and was designed by Elizabeth Hargraves. Now this game is an engine building and tableau building game with some hand management and resource management along with it. It's a rather simple game to learn. Basically, you're going to have cubes that represent your turns, and you're going to have 8 turns to begin with, and then 7 in the second round, then 6 in the third, and then 5 in the fourth round. And you're going to have a board just like this, and you're going to have 4 actions that you can take on your turn, and you'll place one of your cubes depending on where you're going to take that action. This top one, you're going to play a bird and pay the cost in food resources and egg resources that are required. The food resources will be on the card for the bird, and the eggs are shown up here. The first column, you won't pay any eggs for any birds in that first column. Then it's going to be 1 egg, another 1 egg, and then 2 eggs for the last 2 columns. And so you can play a bird, or you can get food in order to be able to play birds. And those food are represented by these dice here that you are going to put into the bird house here, and you're going to have those dice to choose from, and then you get to re-roll as that gets emptied out. The third action you can take is to gain eggs, which you are going to need for being able to play those birds, as well as they give you victory points at the end of the game. And the fourth action you can do is to draw new bird cards. Now when you start out, you'll be doing whatever is on this column right here, but as you add birds, you'll be covering up that column, and you'll take the next one. So as you go, you're going to be able to get more and more resources, because you can see over here, you can get 3 food in this column, or 4 eggs in this column, or 3 cards in this column, and then if you get even to the end here, you've got even extra things that you can get there. And so as you focus on adding birds to a certain row, you'll be able to get more and more resources. And that's part of the engine building mechanic that's in here. Another part of the engine building mechanic is you'll have what are called brown powers on some of the birds, and that's something that will activate as you take the action associated with their row. So if you've got, let's say this bird played in the grasslands, you'll get to activate this bird whenever you take the egg action that is associated with that grassland area. He could also be played, as you can see here in the top corner, in the wetlands. And so if he was in the wetlands, you would be able to get whenever you take the card action. And so that's something with that power there. You also have some that have pink powers, which activate when somebody else does something in between your turns. Or white powers, which activate when they are played. And so the brown powers will help kind of build the engine, while the white powers will kind of give you some immediate benefits, and the pink powers will give you benefits when others do things. There's also, in the European expansion, end of round powers that are teal. And in the Oceania expansion, there are yellow powers, which are end of game powers. And so they each kind of add a little different thing to the game. Now the way you win this game is by getting the most points, and there's a variety of different ways that you score points. First of all, you score points for the amount of points each bird is worth. You see this feather right here with a number next to it. That tells you how many points that bird is worth if it's played into your tableau at the end of the game. And that one was worth 4 points because it was a 4-feather bird. You also score points for eggs that you have placed on your birds, and 1 point for each egg. You score 1 point for each bird that is tucked behind another bird, which different powers allow you to tuck birds along the game. You also score 1 point for food that is cached on your birds. You score points for your bonus cards if you're able to score those conditions. You also, at the end of each round, will have tracked different goals. So like, for instance, right here, at the end of round 1, if you had the most birds in the grasslands, you would score first place for that. Second place would score the second place points, so on and so forth. Along on each round, we'll have a different goal, and you'll be able to see those at the very beginning of the game, so you can kind of track what you want to try to gather in, where you want to put your birds, what birds you want to get, different things depending on what that goal is. And so those are the different ways that you can score points, and you can kind of decide which ones you're going to focus on, which ways you're going to focus on. You may decide you don't want to focus too much towards the end round goals and just let everybody else fight over those, or that may be your primary thing that you're focusing on, allowing that to guide everything else that you do and give you kind of a goal to attain towards each round. And so there's just so many different ways that you can score. That's part of the charm of this game, what I enjoy about it, and the engine building as well. This is one of my top games. If you've seen my top 10 list, it's on that list right there. It used to be higher up than it is, but it's still about 4th or 5th on my top 10 list of all times, and for good reason. It's a simple game, but it has a lot of great strategy to it, a lot of things that you need to focus on as you are trying to build your engine up in order to be able to do more things. And a lot of different types of engines you can build. Some people will focus on building an engine that is about tucking bird cards. Some people will focus on getting more food so they can play out more birds. Some people focus on getting birds that can have a lot of eggs laid on them and trying to go ahead and get as many eggs as possible. Some people try and balance all those different things. And so there's a lot of different engines that you can build that will be an advantage to you. And you kind of have to look at which cards are coming out and have to pivot sometimes as to what your plan is, because maybe you favor doing tucking engines, but there just aren't any good tucking birds coming out. And so you kind of have to pivot and say, well, I'm going to have to do something different here. And there's so many different bird cards in this game that you can play several games before you've seen all the different bird cards. And so each game plays so much differently just because there's so many different birds. And then you get the more birds if you get the European and Oceania expansions that just added more things, as well as more bird powers with those teal and those yellow bird powers. And they're going to come out with a new expansion for each continent. So you're going to have all these different ways that you can change up the game, all these different things going on. And it's just so awesome, all the things you can do with it. Also, the components are very nice. We got here, these eggs just look so beautiful, and they got a nice feel to them. Some of these came with the expansions. Here's some more of these ones. I showed you my favorite ones first, but I'll go ahead and show you these ones too. They're all just really nice quality. You've got these dice right here. They're wooden dice, but they roll nicely, and especially when you use this dice tower, this bird feeder dice tower here, birdhouse dice tower, they roll really well. And just really nice components. The cards. The cards are very high quality. You can be shuffling these a lot before they're going to have wear and tear on them. Just very nice cards. I don't even feel the need to sleeve these cards because they are just so great. And so the components are good. And I've upgraded to some even better components for my food components. But you don't need those. I mean, the cardboard ones do just fine. You also, the boards are very sturdy. These aren't going to break easily. They look nice. The artwork is nice on the boards, on the cards. There's just really, really good artwork. And so just everything is really great about this game. There's nothing really that I can say negative about this game in my mind. It is a 10 out of 10 for me. And so I highly recommend this game. If you like engine builders, go ahead and give this one a try. If you're new to board gaming, it's an easy one to get into. It's not that it doesn't have that much going on that you can you're not going to be intimidated by it. But at the same time, there's enough strategy that needs to be put in this game that you're not going to get tired of it, even after you've grown and gotten to where you're more and more comfortable with board games. And so it's one that's great for beginners. It's one that's great for people who have been in the board gaming hobby for a time now. Everybody can get something great out of this game. And so, like I said, I highly recommend Wingspan. Check it out. It has a great solo mode as well. It has the Otama Factory did a great job on creating a solo mode that is easy to run. It's very competitive. You have 3 different modes. You can play on easy, normal, or hard. And then as you add in the Oceania expansion, it adds in a bunch of extra things that you can try out. Makes it a little bit more complex, a little bit more to focus on, but at the same time, is a really good addition to the game. And so I highly recommend checking out. Start with the base game, get used to it, and next I would recommend adding in the European. It just adds one extra type of bird power at the end of round powers and a bunch of extra birds. And then finally, you can add in the Oceania. It adds in end of game powers as well as a whole different type of board. I actually prefer the original game board, but the Oceania is pretty good as well. The main thing I like about the original game board is that you can get eggs easier, which means you can get birds played easier that way from the eggs. But that's kind of balanced in the Oceania by adding in nectar, which will help you get birds played easier by giving you wild food. The Oceania expansion also adds an extra way to score points by being able to have the most nectar, or the second most nectar, in each of the different habitats. And so you can get more points that way, as well as being able to get more points by being able to get more birds played. And so there's just a lot that gets added by these different expansions. So I'd say start out with the base game and then slowly add in the different expansions to be able to continue to get lots and lots of replayability out of this game. The replayability is just amazing for this game because you've got so many different bird cards, so many different strategies are going to come out each game that you have to change each time. And as they add even more expansions, it's going to add to the replayability a whole bunch. So I highly recommend Wingspan. Check it out. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next video.